Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macie Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. My name is Macie, and I am so excited to get to do this episode for you today. If you are a brand new listener, welcome. You're going to learn a lot about my entrepreneurial journey in this episode and hear a lot of my thoughts, which is a little bit different of a format because normally I come on my podcast, I share lots of value and lots of teachings and things that I'm coaching my clients on and concepts. But today's going to be a little bit different because you're going to be let into the back door, so to speak, of what it's like being a business owner, being a coach, and getting to hear my answer to a lot of different questions that were asked by my audience. So I recently posted on my Instagram story that I was going to do this entrepreneurial tell-all episode, and I asked for people to anonymously send their questions, and I got a lot of them. So I'm going to do my best to get through as many as I can, but I have a feeling that this is going to be a two-part series because I don't really want to leave any of the questions out. And although I will try to be fast in how I answer, I'm a very detail-oriented person, if you haven't figured that out about me by now, which sometimes means I can be a little bit long-winded. I try to reel it in, but it's hard for me because I'm very meticulous. I pay attention to the little things that a lot of people I've found maybe don't pay attention to, and so it's really hard for me to just give a basic answer. You're probably going to get detailed answers from me. That's just the truth. So anyways, we're going to dig right into this. And again, if you are a returning listener, you come all the time. Thank you for coming back. And if you submitted a question, I just want to tell you thank you because I loved getting all these questions and I can't wait to give you my answers. Okay. The first question is, what inspired you to start a coaching business as opposed to another type of business? So I have a two-part answer to this. First and foremost, I have been entrepreneurial spirited since I was a kid. It's just always been something that I think I was meant to do. I didn't know that it would ever be this route as a coach. And what I mean by that is even as a kid, I loved arts and crafts. I would make these splatter paint bookmarks. I would make glass beaded bookmarks. I would sew little mini felt pillows. I'd have my grandma take me to the store and help me buy crafts. And then I would go to school and I would sell the crafts. And whenever I got a little bit older, started college, I started a fondant cake business. So a lot of my clients were people I went to high school with, and I would spend hours and days baking cakes, making homemade fondant from scratch, which is made with marshmallows, by the way. And people would tell me what they wanted, and then I would make cakes. I never made money off of the cakes that I made, though, because I didn't know a lot of things about business or profit. It was really just a fun thing for me, especially whenever people would give me creative range. And so I would make these cakes and I'd always be in the negatives because I was afraid to charge people the amount of money that I actually would have needed to make a profit. So I didn't really charge for my time. I didn't really charge for my materials. I would make them a 3-tier huge fondant cake that could literally feed like 50 people. It would be so decorated and elaborate because I'm a Libra and I'm, again, meticulous, attention to detail. I really love creative things, and I would hand over what would probably be a $200 to $300 cake, and I would be like, oh, it's just $80. So needless to say, after 2 to 3 years of doing that in between college classes, it was time to shut the doors on that business. It just became a lot. And I found that whenever I didn't get to stay in that creative energy, it was no longer enjoyable for me. From there, I was in a relationship marketing company that taught me a lot about personal development and business. It was really my first taste of what it meant to work on your mindset. And I absolutely loved and totally fell in love with that piece, reading personal development books, all the things. And then it wasn't too long after that I met my life coach, and I wanted my life coach to help me build my relationship marketing business. But I really felt in my gut like the relationship marketing business wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur, but it felt like my ticket out of my college career, which was pediatric occupational therapy. And so my life coach, I can remember her asking me, what would you do if you could do anything in the world, if you could make anything a business? And I, at the time, thought that I wanted to be the next Joanna Gaines. And so I told her my fear was that if I tried to become another, Joanna Gaines in my own way and have an interior decorating business, but then later found that it wasn't what I wanted to do, I felt like I would have no dream, actually, because I thought that was the thing that I was going to do with my life and how I was going to build the life that I wanted as a business entrepreneur. And she basically was like, why are you wasting time? You need to pursue interior decorating right now and get out of your own way. Stop stalling, get over the fear of thinking it might not be the thing, because you're right, it might not be the thing. So long story short, I launched an interior decorating business, and about 6 months into it, I hated it. I did not want to be Joanna Gaines. And what that total mental breakdown actually taught me, because I really did have I call it almost like a quarter life crisis. I didn't know what else I could possibly want to do when I realized I didn't like that. And that whole finding myself over the next year and a half made me realize what I really, really loved. And what I loved was how much I had transformed as a woman, and how much I loved personal development, even being in the relationship marketing, company that I was in, and just how passionate I felt about sharing everything that I was learning with other people. And it really showed me that what I actually wanted was to be a coach, which scared the living crap out of me, by the way. I was so afraid because at this point, my audience had seen me and watched me have a gajillion businesses. People I went to elementary school, middle school with, high school, they had seen 8 or 9 businesses. The doors open for something, the doors close for something. And so I was really afraid to admit that here was another venture. I felt like people wouldn't take me serious and I would probably never have business because they'd think oh, it's just the next thing that she's starting that she's going to quit. But to answer this question, I have tried multiple businesses. And while there's been aspects of them that I've loved and have felt very me, I've never felt at home as an entrepreneur until I personally became a coach. And I was inspired to become a coach because of how much my life changed when I started working with my own. All right, question number 2. Do you see how lengthy I can be? So I'm sorry, this is probably going to be 2 parts. Okay, the next question is, I was just promoted to supervisor, and this is my first time having my own team to manage and be responsible for. Since coaching is an important step in management, what are some tips and tricks you have for a first-time supervisor? Okay, my answer to this is that I really deeply believe that you making your emotional intelligence and mindset a priority is a non-negotiable. When you step into a leadership position, it's very different than maybe what you were doing prior if you just basically had to show up to work. Once you're responsible for other people, you're now responsible for humans that more than likely at times will have unmanaged minds and unmanaged emotions. And you as a human are not always going to have a managed mind or managed emotions. But in a leadership position, it's really important of how you lead yourself, because that will in turn make an impact on how they are led and how you lead them, which then is going to impact what kind of results you're creating within the team and the goals of that business, company, or organization. So my best advice would be that if you are not working on yourself on a personal development level, to absolutely positively make that a priority. And another thing is, if you are already doing this, or maybe you hear this and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start, just making sure that you're being very, very mindful that your team is also getting a little bit of this work as well. So that could be, like going above you and seeing if you can get approval for maybe like personal development hour, a coach coming in, making sure that your team feels just as supported so that the morale is really, really good and how they feel they could be better supported, and be super open to constructive feedback and criticism. I know that that can be really hard no matter what position that you're in, because as humans, we really like to hear all the time that we're doing a good job, and we like really cozy validation. And a lot of times if we're getting negative feedback or constructive criticism, it can feel very, very hard to take, because our human mind is geared to protect us. Our brain wants to protect us. And so it may feel defensive, and it may automatically want to make people wrong for the things that they're approaching you with. It doesn't always mean that what they're bringing is correct, but there might be methods to your madness. There might be reasons you're making decisions that you are as a leader. And so I think having a professional line of communication open with making sure that your team is good, and ultimately, making sure that you are good, because you're going to be leading them. So whatever supports you need to make sure you're going to be the best supervisor. And in a corporate setting, I just want to remind all of you that are listening to this that many more companies are hiring coaches within their organization to make sure that their employees or their leaders are doing a good job. So if you want to hire a coach, you can always, if you find a coach that you really like, you can always reach out to that coach and see if they can make a proposal or already have a proposal created, in which case you can approach your HR company or your management team, whoever's above you, and see if they will pay for your coaching. There are a lot of companies out there that really value you being a good leader and will pay the money for you to get coached. And I will tell you that I have had clients get their coaching paid for because emotional intelligence is highly valued in the corporate world. They know that it's important to leaders, and they know it's important to the team. And if they want their business to do well, they know it's a very important skill to possess. So even if you cannot pay out of pocket for your own coaching, but find it valuable, ask the coach that you want to work with for a proposal to see if your company will pay for it. The worst that they can say is no. Number 3, what is your favorite part about being a coach? This is a simple answer. I love watching my clients transform. That is the biggest, most amazing blessing in the world. So here's the thing about being a detail-oriented person. I remember pretty much every consult I've ever done. And I always take notes on the consult. And a lot of times there's something, just even if it's one thing, there's something that stands out to me on a consult about each individual that I have. And I oftentimes experience that when clients are on a consult, they're usually not in the best place, hence why they're on a phone call with me. Like, they are really feeling at a place in their life where they're like, something has to change because I can't keep going on like this. And so it's a very important phone call that I take very seriously. And to watch my clients grow and to experience happiness and to have achievements and to really see their emotional intelligence transform and their mindsets transform and the friendships that they make if they're doing like group programs that I host. It's a really incredible feeling to see that, because my brain flashes back to that consult call and I'm like, wow, they have truly leaned into all of the hard work. They've had their own back to choose a different life for themselves. And I'm so excited to see them reap the rewards. So That is my favorite part about being a coach. All right, next question. How many days a week do you work with clients? Currently, I am working 2 days a week actively coaching clients. So I have 2 group programs. One is called the Equip Society, and I coach all of my clients in there on Mondays. And then I also have a group program called the Hybrid Experience, and I coach all of those clients on Tuesday when we do the group call. And then for one-on-one private coaching clients, I try to squeeze them in on Mondays or Tuesdays, with the exception of like emergencies or, weird reschedules, but it doesn't happen that often. I used to work like Monday through Thursday with clients, but right now I'm taking less and less one-on-one private clients. I really only have a couple. And then whoever is in the hybrid experience, they get one-on-one coaching. So however big the round is. So for instance, right now I have 11 women in the hybrid experience, and all of them get private one-on-one coaching. So between them and my private clients, they can all fit on Monday and Tuesday, which allows me, Wednesday is usually a rest day for me because I'm tapped out. By the time I have coached maybe 15 or more, or maybe a little less brains, I am tapped out. Truly, it's a lot of brain power. So Wednesday is usually like veg out and just be couch lava. I don't know, just a potato. And then usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm doing back end things. I'm recording podcasts maybe. I'm working on workbooks. I'm planning out the next couple weeks or months. I'm planning freebies. I'm doing, website updates. It's all the back end things, talking with attorneys, trademarks, all of the things that maybe people don't realize that we're also doing behind the scenes. I don't just get to show up and coach and then, clock out and be good. When you're a business owner, you're wearing every single hat unless you've hired it out. And as of right now, I have not hired anything out. So when my clients receive a workbook, I created the entire workbook. Whenever they have me on the call, that's me on the call. Like, I don't hire out any contractors. My website, my podcast, all of the editing, the post on Facebook, literally everything I do. So I'm working actively with clients Monday and Tuesday, and I am also very busy, usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Sunday is a give or take. Might be busy, might be resting. All right, the next question. Do you ever miss your occupational therapy career, and would you ever go back? So there are times I definitely miss my occupational therapy career. For anybody that's new listening to this, I used to be a pediatric occupational therapist for birth to age 3. We call it early intervention. And that meant that I, worked with little babies and toddlers that were developmentally or intellectually delayed. It could be physically, emotionally. It could be things like having trouble with sensory. It could be that they had a diagnosis, like Down syndrome or autism. And I really enjoyed the work. The aspect of occupational therapy that just drove me crazy to the point where I knew I wouldn't be able to tolerate it for the next 40 years of my life is really the healthcare / political side that I don't think a lot of people talk about. I really felt like my hands were tied many times working with families where I knew there were different approaches and methods that would actually help their child in a really big way, but I wasn't allowed to speak on it because it wasn't considered, what we call evidence-based practice. If there weren't research studies to show that it worked for 100% of people, then you can't really share that without your license being on the line. And I was just exhausted with billing and medical codes and note taking and just having to be so on and diligent about that because your documentation can be reviewed in court at any given time. And it was just exhausting, like assessments, things like that. The actual work itself of walking into a home, greeting a mom, a dad, a grandparent, getting to know the family, because some of the families, I had their kids for years. The kids age out at age 3 on their birthday if they, haven't met their goals earlier than that. And so some of these babies I would get on my caseload at 5 months old, and they would age out at 3 years old. And so, and then I had a few families where they had, maybe 2 children that had my services, and I got to spend multiple years with them. I think my longest standing family was 5.5 years, and I'm still really close with the mom. And I really love so many aspects of it. And to answer this question, would I ever go back? I always keep that door open. I renew my license every single year so that I never have to take my national board exam ever again, because it was at the time, close to 10 years ago, it was like over $500 to take it. And if you failed, you had to pay the over $500 again, as many times as it took you to take it. And it was hard enough back then. I don't ever want to have to take that exam, being almost 10 years out since the last time that I took it. So I keep my license active, and I've always said there might be a day where I dabble back in it. I definitely will not have as many kids as I did when I actively practiced, which was anywhere between 18 and 32 families. Any given time, I would probably go back and maybe have 5 to 6, which would mean I work maybe 1 day a week doing it, maybe 2 max. And it truly would just be because I love the bonding with the families, and I love snuggling babies and toddlers. The birth to age 3 is very hard on parents, but if I am being totally honest, it is my absolute favorite. And if I ever become a mom, I know it's going to be hard, but I literally think that those years will be when I thrive. I have a really hard time when kids get to maybe age 7 through 12. I find that age to be very challenging for me for some reason. So give me all the baby things, and there might be a day where I dabble back into OT, but I love being an entrepreneur and a coach. Okay, next question. What are some of your current business goals? So some of my current business goals that I have, like I said, a group program called the Equip Society. And when I built that program in 2022, the goal that has remained the same was to one day have hundreds, if not thousands of women in that program where I teach foundational emotional intelligence skills. I'm very adamant about this goal because I feel like it's the one thing that we are really missing as humans, and where society has failed us. We haven't learned how to cope emotionally, and people really do it in ways that are unhealthy, and where a lot of times traumas that are unhealed, that are going unnoticed in a subconscious manner, end up doing more harm to other people who are really innocent bystanders. And so with emotional intelligence, the thing about it is that people's behavior oftentimes is subconscious and is driven by things that they're not aware of, but that doesn't make it okay, especially when it can be destructive to relationships and even to your own life and your own dreams. All of it can be combated by learning emotional intelligence skills and being more self-aware and learning how the brain really works. And the Equip Society for me is like a huge passion project. I love the women that, come in there, that I'm working with in there. I coach them every Monday, and just the community of it all. So a business goal that I have for that is to continue building it. So you'll probably be hearing a lot about it and see different opportunities to jump in it, because I just think that doing emotional intelligence work is some of the most important work we will ever do. My dream, honestly, is to wake up one day and there be more emotionally intelligent people than you can count, where it really feels fulfilling to have a lot of different people in your life rather than draining, which I feel like in current society with a lot of people walking around unaware, it's bound to at times be very exhausting. So I might not be able to save the entire world, but I would love for people to learn the skills that's going to help them feel better, but also it's a ripple effect of how it's going to help everybody else that they're around in their own life. So that's a business goal. Another business goal is my advanced emotional intelligence program, the hybrid experience. I cannot tell you the passion behind that program either. It's just one of a kind and super special I love who it attracts. It's a smaller crew. It's not meant to be for hundreds or thousands of women. It's meant to be, I think max, I will probably only ever take 25. So if there is ever a time where women are knocking down the doors to be in it, I would have to cap it at probably 25 because I want the intimacy. But that is a goal, to grow it to one day have 25 enrollments and around. I think that would be so fun and enriching. And I have ran 3 rounds so far. The first round I got 8. The second round I got 8. And this third round that I'm currently in with the women, I have 11. So I've got a while to go, but it can always change, the more that I'm talking about it and sharing it. And in one day, I'll get to celebrate having 25 women in there. Maybe even one day I'll be able to celebrate the fact that so many women want to be in it that I really do have to turn them away, which will make me sad, but also it'll mean that I hit my business goal. And then, are there any other business goals? I do have some other business goals. I'm not going to share them right now because they're big and they're just sacred to me. They're not monetary at all, but it's experiences that I want to have with my clients. And right now it feels a little far-fetched. So I'm really working on my belief around trusting that it is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And one day I will share what that dream is. And I hope when I'm sharing what that dream is, that it is because I'm launching it and that there are at least 5 to 10 women that would be all in on it. So I know you're probably like, hey, that's not fair. I want to know what it is. And trust me, when I feel like I've grown into the person that can do it, you will be hearing about it and I will be screaming in tears and happiness. So stay tuned. And I guess I do have one goal that I would really love to hit. When the day comes where there's no longer breath in my lungs, I really want to be able to tell my creator, God, I did not leave one card unturned. I used every last bit of talent that you gave me. I took advantage of every opportunity and I trusted in faith when it felt impossible. And I honestly just want to see what I'm made of. I just want to see what's possible. So if that means one day, having the title of a millionaire, cool. If that means, making what I'm making now, but changing the lives of thousands, cool. You know what I mean? It's not so much for me an exact monetary value. It's knowing that I lay my head on the pillow every single night knowing I gave it my all. And I did it with joy and I did it with faith and I did it with a servant heart for how it's going to change my clients' lives. That's what's important to me. I want that. So that's a long way to share with you my goals, but it's very heart-centered and heart-led, and I just want the best for everybody that comes into my world that feels like they're meant for more. So I will pour my heart out. I will provide value in whatever life that affords me. It will just be a true blessing of knowing I didn't leave a single stone unturned. Okay, next question. Did it take you a long time to get a steady flow of clients? It did. The thing about business is you have to be in it for the long game. I think a lot of times when people have a dream of being an entrepreneur or starting a business, no matter what the business is, what you believe in your head is that you're going to open the doors and there's going to be a herd of people running at you. And while that may happen with certain businesses, certain things, it's not necessarily the norm to expect. And again, this is why emotional intelligence matters so much, because when you have finally gained the courage and the confidence to open the doors in your business and you're really excited and then it's crickets and nobody comes in, your emotional intelligence is everything, because it means you have to feel all of those shitty feelings and you're going to notice your brain saying it's not working. None of this, I shouldn't have spent so much time on this. Why did I ever think that I could make it? You're going to have all the doubts. It's going to be how you move yourself through that, how you problem solve, how you get better. And that's a slow burn. So it did take me a long time to get a steady flow of clients, probably a good 2 to 3 years before it started feeling super consistent for me, outside of, those sporadic 1 or 2 clients that would reach out at any given time. So Stay in it. It's the long game. You're playing the long game. You're starting the business with the intent that you're never closing the business, right? Like if anything, if the business grows beyond your means, that you're going to maybe sell it off. That's more of the mentality as opposed to I'm going to start, see how it goes, and then if it doesn't go well, I'll quit. If you're going into a business with that mentality, then just don't even go into the business. Truly, I don't care what business it is. If you are going into the business of let's try it out, my advice is honestly just don't, because you're going to be hit with a lot of hurdles. You need to make business decisions with I will until, meaning that I am committed to figuring out every possible solution, no matter how hard it is, all of the time. Okay. Because that's the truth in entrepreneurship. It's hard AF. All right, that's it for part 1. I am going to save the other questions for part 2. So make sure you tune in next week so that you can hear the other 8 questions that I am going to be answering. I can't wait. They are good. They are juicy, including, have you ever had or worked with a client you didn't particularly like, and what did you do about it? So that will be next week. Make sure you come back, and I'll see you then. Bye. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macie Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macierenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macierenee.com anytime you want so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.